Welcome to another episode of Talkin Games, where two guys talk about games and no one listens. Starring me, Dennis Alonso, and...
Me, Matthew Baker.
So, yeah, uh, this week we are talking about Elder Scrolls. For all of you, all those people out there who were big Elder Scroll fans, and for those of you who don't know the game by the name Elder Scrolls, you will probably know it by the more popular titles of such as Oblivion and Skyrim. But Matt, you can take over from here.
So originally, just a little background on it, the first Elder Scrolls released in 1994, quite a while back. After that, the big titles you've probably heard of, a lot of the Elder Scrolls fans know of Morrowind, which released in 2002. Morrowind or Morrowind, I've heard it called both ways. The next big title that I heard about, and that I personally have played, released in 2006, and that would be the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. After that, we have 2011 coming in with the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, and in the future, at some point, the Elder Scrolls Online will release. There isn't a date for it, but I will say at some point because these things have a tendency to get pushed back or moved around, so we'll see if it comes to fruition on time.
Yep. There's a lot of Elder Scroll games. Some of them expansions of previous ones, but I personally haven't played any of them up until Oblivion.
Now, Oblivion is the game, again, that I have played, so it's the one that I can give the best information on. Whenever you first start the game, if you were to play it now, the graphics are not nearly as good as what you'd expect. Of course, again, it did release back in 2006, so things have improved quite a bit since then. As far as gameplay goes, though, this game is drowning in everything you could want in a game. There's something for everyone. Whenever you start the game, I suppose I shouldn't tell you exactly what the scenario is. Don't want to ruin it for you or anything if you decide to go out and try it after after our podcast. Excuse
Uh,
me if I stop talking every once in a while. I've got a cough that I'm trying to cover up.
well, let me just butt in real quick. If you haven't played Oblivion by now, I don't think you kind of like waited it out too long. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem if you told them what happens in Oblivion. Especially like if anybody's listening and see Elder Scrolls, I'm pretty sure they've already played it by now. Like it's been what it's 7 years, so kind of a little late.
Touche. A little more than 7 years, by the way. Okay, well, in that case, I will tell you, you start off in a prison. This isn't really a spoiler because literally you're going to start the game in a prison. If you start the game and you feel like I have slighted you due to this, then wow, okay, you're a thing. But you start off in prison, which is a very limited area. Since you have those boundaries that you start off with and you have like a straightforward area, it serves as a great tutorial while at the same time not leaving you with the feeling of it being a tutorial. Like there's a very straightforward path, it's not open world at this point. And so again, it's very straightforward and it kind of forces you to learn to play the game in a way that gives you a great tutorial lesson. Not to mention it actually has the tutorial built in with the little pop-ups explaining how to do stuff, of course. But when in the game, almost immediately you are given the choice to either try to focus on swords, bow and arrow, or magic. Now, this is a common layout for this kind of game, or for most RPG type games, so it's to be expected, but all three are implemented very well. I personally enjoy mixing things up and doing like a bow and magic or a sword and magic, so on and so forth. You're also pretty quickly allowed to either try dual wielding weapons or using a sword and a shield or so on and so forth. The combat is I'm trying to think back to it. It's been a while. It's pretty good how they have it set up. It's not something that's turn-based. Generally speaking, if you take a bow and arrow and crouch in a dark area to where you're sneaking, and shoot, you get a critical to start things with, and you can kill most of the enemies in the tutorial like that without any trouble. If you do enter combat, it's again, I'm trying to remember, but it's pretty straightforward as far as RPG combat would go. They hit you, you try to block it, and as soon as they swing, take the chance to hit them or something, so on and so forth. So combat's pretty fun. In the quest, or in the getting out of the jail or whatever, you're going to pick up a bunch of items, and you're going to kind of get an idea of how to fight and what you might want to hold on to. If you run across bones and pick them up, feel free. I mean, it's bones, whatever. In the end, I'm sure they have a use. However, I never found a use for them. There are potions you can make, there are all sorts of spells you can make, and so on and so forth. Now, once you're out of there, the very first thing you enter is a open world scenario. I think you end up in the woods, kind of right next to a castle town. And almost immediately you realize that you can go anywhere you want. There is no you have to go here, 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 do this, this, this. It is very open world. The quests are all open-ended. There is, of course, a main storyline, and you can augment it by going out and doing extra quests and such. But for the most part, anything you want to do, you can go out and do anything. You can, I know a lot of people will immediately do a cheat for sneaking, which I will go ahead and tell you, it's really not that surprising. There's an auto walk feature. So if you sneak and walk as you walk, you gain experience. So really easy cheat. Sneak and then turn your character towards a corner of a room and just auto walk towards it and leave the game. Come back in a couple hours, you have sneak all the way up. If you do this, it's very cheap. You're going to ruin the experience of the game, at least somewhat. So I don't recommend it, but at the same time, if you want to, you can. Why not? Each skill has its own level. The higher the level, the better the skill is used, and the more mana you have or something if you focus in a magic area. Each spell, there's enfeebling spells or illusion spells, so each area has its own leveling system. So if you decide to level with swords, as you fight, you're going to get better with swords. And this is a very intuitive system, and it means that whatever you favor tends to be your stronger area. Now, for the game, as you're playing, that's pretty much the gist of it. Excuse me again. I again clearing my throat constantly. But that's for the most part the gist of the game. There's lots of guilds you can join that are based on something this or that. I know one of the things that made me really want to play the game was my friends talking about getting bit by a vampire and they themselves turn into vampires at that point. And there's some massive quest line you can do to get yourself fixed, turned back to human. But if you choose to stay a vampire, you do really well at night. But if it's daytime, not so much, and you kind of want to wait it out until it's nighttime again. So all sorts of stuff in this game, all sorts of things to mix it up. And the only other thing I might mention is that there are mounts, namely so horses. I don't think there's anything else but horses, but that does tend to make travel a little bit quicker and a little bit more fun. Your horse can die if I remember correctly, so be careful about that. But all in all, it's a great game. Even though the graphics are bad, if you get a chance to go back and play it, or if you never played it in the first place, I personally would recommend giving it a try.
Yeah. Uh, I would. I'd recommend it as well. Like just hearing you talk about it, really wanted me, really wanted to make me play it again. My brother, who was obsessed with Oblivion, like he would buy a 360 like every like 6 months after he sells his to get Oblivion again, and it was pretty damn funny.
I would have to recommend getting a PC or something, buying Oblivion once, and not rebuying a system every 6 months, because that's kind of a bit of a waste of money.
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't say buy Oblivion at all anymore. Even though I did feel like I wanted to play it, I am going to tell you about a game you should play rather than playing Oblivion, which is Skyrim. Skyrim is Elder Scrolls V, the sequel to Oblivion, and it's the game that I played. I didn't really play Oblivion. I played Skyrim, and it looked amazing. The updated graphics, of course. Uh, I don't know how large the scale was in Oblivion, but in Skyrim it was enormous. Like I climbed the mountains, I like fell down cliffs and stuff. I've actually survived falling down cliffs a couple of times and got stuck in between like a cliff and a wall, like from a castle or stuff, and it took me hours just to get out because like what if I couldn't do anything. I couldn't reset my game. I couldn't kill myself. It wouldn't let me. Tried. So in Skyrim, you kind of start off kind of the same way you start off in Oblivion. You're kind of like a prisoner and whatnot. And something I want to add that Darks kind of didn't mention. Oblivion, The Elder Scrolls is what you would call a Western RPG. It is real time fighting, and how it works is you control your character. Like again, I didn't play Oblivion. I believe the controls are kind of the same, like in Skyrim, where the trigger buttons in the back control either your left and right arm.
Yeah, that's correct. I did mean to mention that too, so thank you for touching on that.
Yeah. So it's the Western style RPGs tend to be more in depth in terms of custom character customization and as well as stat customization. Whereas you would find in like a JRPG, mainly it's really like it really isn't that in depth. It's more story driven than anything else. And so, like in Oblivion and in Skyrim, you get this really, really detailed leveling system, which you increase your magic, your strength, your vitality, etc., etc. Like very, adding points to them as you gain levels, you get points, and like it's really in depth, and especially with the customization of your character changing like where your nose is, like your chin size. If you've played any Western style RPGs, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very, very detailed. Skyrim was a very amazing game, and like what brought me like what what just had me in awe was the dragons. The first dragon fight was just epic. Like I ended up killing an NPC for a bow and arrow. He was an NPC that was helping kill the dragon, and I killed him because I wanted the bow and arrow. I didn't have one, and it was just pretty funny killing them when they're trying to help me out. Anyway, the dragon fights were epic, and like the just the scale of these monsters and being able to control your character in this one almost like one to one. I never really like playing that first person style. I know a lot of people like that style where you kind of only see your hands and that's it. I kind of like the third person view. I like looking at my character's armor and all that stuff, and so on and so forth. Like it was a really fun game. And you also could get mounts as well, like horses and whatnot, and like travel around the whole world, like really really long trips. But you almost felt like you were an adventurer. The one thing that really always got me excited was I always liked the Lord of the Rings movies and like that whole adventuring stuff, and I always loved like that feeling of crossing like through forests and woods and all this stuff, and like all these monsters and orcs or whatever you'd find, or like just like wandering in the forest and stuff, and you're just like this adventurer out in the woods, and you just come out and like kill people and or like whatever demons and stuff are lurking around. And it was it was just very unique experience, something that you really don't find from most games now. Like a lot of games are trying to now to become more like it. I know Capcom has uh not Dragon Age, damn it, what's that? Do you Matt, do you happen to know what was that in the game that, oh no, never mind, I actually remember Dragon's Dogma. Have you heard of that game?
Yeah, I heard of that game. It looked really good. Heard a lot of good things about it, but I never really played it myself.
Essentially, Dragon's Dogma is like it's a fusion of Monster Hunter and Elder Scrolls. I would pretty much say.
So in other words, I should go play it right now.
It's really good. I played the demo. I never played the real game, so honestly I can't really tell you how great it is. But the fighting style is exactly like Monster, is almost exactly like Monster Hunter. Like the way you take out your weapons, the button that you use for items. But the coolest thing about it is like when I found out that you can climb up on the monsters. Like one of the demos mobs in Dragon's Dogma was a griffin, and like I would pick a bow and arrow, and like I would range shots from above, and you would see all these arrows sticking out of his face and everything. And when I found out you can grab on, I picked sword and shield, and dual wielding. I think I picked. Like I grabbed onto him. I was just like as it was trying to fly away, and I'm just like stabbing him as it tries to get away from me.
Sounds awesome. So, not to get you back on topic by any means, but you were talking about how Elder Scrolls, you said it's nice that these games are so open or something, and then you were saying games these days tend not to be, and then you go to Dragon's Dogma, which sounds like an amazing game, so I'm not sure where you were going with this.
Okay, well, what I meant is that not many like some games are actually getting to that point, but yeah, like I personally haven't seen that many that have that open world feel. You can pretty much count how many there are. Like I could say Skyrim, well, Elder Scrolls, let's say in general, and Dragon's Dogma. I think Dark Souls, like, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of like you still have like zones that you go into for each of the those worlds. I forgot. Like I haven't really played that much of it.
I did play Dark Souls, and I will say that it is somewhat open world. Very, very limited open world. Like if you go let's just say for an example, let's say you have a path and you need to get to a castle that's directly south of you. Dark Souls basically offers you the option of going southwest and then going to the castle, or southeast and going to the castle. So the destination's the same. You can take a different path, but in the end, basically, you're gonna have to take both paths. So a kind of open world, but not really.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like in Elder Scrolls, it's like you see a mountain and you're like, I'm gonna climb that mountain, and you could possibly do it if you find a good enough path to get up it. But you can do it. You can go there, and that's what I mean. I I I really want to see more games like that. Honestly, I don't see that many that are that open world. One game that I'm actually excited about that's open world is The Division, about Tom Clancy. But again, let's stay on topic, which is Elder Scrolls. Um, that's really it from my experience in Skyrim. I never really beat the game. I played it for about a week, and it was my brother lent it to me. I gave it back to him, and like pretty soon after Wii U came out, and as I've said before, the moment the Wii U came out, kind of sold my 360 right away. Didn't really care. Uh, Still don't care. Uh, and yeah. Now finally, our last topic for today, because again we're keeping our podcast short. Like I say that in quotes because our last one ended up like 30 40 minutes, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was about 40 minutes. Let me interrupt you, and I know we're trying to keep this under, but like real quick a note. I will say that in Oblivion, like you're talking in Skyrim, you're saying if you could find a way up a mountain, you could climb a mountain. In Oblivion, I will say there were some mountains that I tried to climb where there was the infamous invisible wall that kept you from being able to reach the tip top. So it wasn't entire. I mean, it was a huge, massive open world, but there were still limitations. There were still like the invisible wall did exist in certain places. Just FYI.
Yeah, I think in Skyrim there were a couple of invisible walls, but I'm not really sure. Again, I played it for a week. It was a long week, but I didn't really beat the game. I was kind of too busy and too distracted running around the world and like hacking and slashing trolls and stuff.
I will say I love that also. Just going out into the woods, you're just like, oh hey, look, some berries. Start to walk that way, and out of nowhere there comes like, oh, troll or something. Like, oh crap.
Yeah, man, it's pretty epic. Uh, so finally, let's move on to our last topic, which is Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online is slated to be released on the PC in April 4th and on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 in June. There's no specific date for it. It's just June 2014.
And again, that date might change or something, but as I said earlier, unless if something gets pushed back, this is an online game, and if they release a beta or something, I'm not sure. I think they already did the beta runs for it, but if they have to do any modifying to it, that date could always get pushed back or something.
Yeah, look at Final Fantasy 14. The PlayStation 3 version was supposed to come out a long time ago. It took like 2 years and before they finally released it after 2.0 came out.
Oh, and I would like to say that whenever Dennis said April 4th and June, he's saying that in the year 2014. If for some reason it's the year 2015 and you're just now listening to this podcast, you're going to be a little lost. I would hope you would read the date that this was uploaded, but just to clarify, that is in 2014.
Yeah, if if you're in 2015 going, "Oh my god, I can't wait till April for Elder Scrolls Online to come out," then something's wrong with you. I'm sorry to say, but there is something seriously wrong with you. Came out a year ago. Go get the game. It was amazing, by the way. Like the day one, the servers blew up, and 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 like the place that was housing the servers just went up in flames. How crazy it was.
And the game is now like praised around the world as being the greatest game ever. Like it's not supposed to release for another few months, but I know this. I know this. This is happening now. The apocalypse, man.
Uh, one thing I'm actually interested about this game is that I've mainly played RPG style MMOs, and even games including like WoW. WoW still has more. It turns more to like the Japanese style, uh, not Western style, and like a game that's very west, like has is the definition of a Western RPG. Elder Scrolls. I am very curious to see how this game works, as in terms of like the online.
Again, the combat system working with a left trigger and a right trigger for your left hand and right hand weapons or whatever it may be. Like seeing that implemented in an online game, I do agree. I think it would be quite like the concept sounds really good. Aside from that, I mean, you've got your classes that they've announced. I don't know if these are set in stone or not, but they've announced four classes that will come out with the game as well. That again, like it's not like your classes in other games where you have a mage or a DPS or something. This looks like they're pretty generic classes or something.
So like everyone's pretty much like equal, I guess, right?
Well, just for a list, I'm reading Dragon Knight, Templar, Sorcerer, and Nightblade. Sorcerer, obviously, we can assume that's a mage class, but like Templar, Nightblade, and Dragon Knight, I hear those, and all three sound to me like they're going to use a sword to some extent. Nightblade, I think more of an assassin type. Templar, I think more defense and holy, and Dragon Knight, I think of more of a spear maybe or something. But regardless, all three are melee type classes, and there's only one sorcerer type class. Other than that, I'm all for Nightblade. I assume is going to use swords and magic, dark magic. Dragon Knight, I assume is going to use spears. Maybe not magic. Maybe they'll be all melee. Templar, I assume is going to use swords and light magic, and the sorcerer is going to use probably pole arms and magic. So, like three of the four classes I see look like they're going to implement magic in some way. I mean, my assumption.
What interests me more about that is that again, I'm used to like JRPG MMOs, and so like they're really based around partying together, getting groups set together to kill mobs in order to keep going into the game. But in this, it's like you only have four classes, and you know, it's kind of like I don't really know how that kind of stuff works. It's like you pretty much can you solo the game by yourself? Is what kind of content is there when you're together? A whole bunch of other stuff that to me it just it's kind of like a new concept. I'm pretty sure there are other games that are like that, but to me it's just a new concept.
In fact, actually, speaking on that, the solo part, excuse me, I read somewhere that it actually said the game is going to be all online, but that Bethesda has already said that there will be plenty of solo content.
Well, sounds interesting. Before we get too far in time, we're already about 25 minutes in. I want to bring up something that's very, I found very curious and something that I think if you haven't heard, you should hear, and it's um, as you know, or may not know, this is this is going to be a proper MMO, and so it's going to have a monthly subscription fee. It's been set to 14.99 US. As far as we know, that's what was said last year in Gamescom. But this year it was like in January, late January. They said that for the PlayStation 4, you will not be required to have a PlayStation Plus subscription to play online. So you don't really have to pay for PlayStation Plus to play. You just pay the monthly subscription fee for like you would normally would for the game. But here's what I find extremely annoying and very, to my opinion, controversial. The Xbox One version will require you to have Xbox Live, so you have to pay for Xbox Live, and on top of that, you will also still have to pay the 14.99 subscription fee for Elder Scrolls Online, which is extremely stupid. Um,
Yeah,
it,
this is going to be a big thing if they don't fix this, because right now you're looking at a PC release and then a PlayStation release, both of which you just have to pay the online fee. And then Xbox One, anyone who plays that system, anyone who decides to go that way is going to get doubled up. And this is a horrible move on all parts.
I'm guessing what Microsoft thinks is like, hey, if people own our Xbox Ones, they're already gonna be paying for Xbox Live, so it doesn't really matter. People aren't gonna really notice or care. But here's the thing: I used to play Final Fantasy 11 on my Xbox 360. Now, on the Xbox 360, Final Fantasy 11 did not require an Xbox Live Gold subscription in order for me to play Final Fantasy 11. I still had to pay my Final Fantasy 11 subscription fee, but I did not have to pay for Xbox Live. So, what about those people who aren't paying for Xbox Live? Because if the price is still, as I remember it, it's $8 for a month. So on top of the $15 you're paying for Elder Scrolls Online, you're paying an extra $8, which in total is $23 a month just to play a game online. And mind you, most MMOs nowadays for about 25 bucks, that's you can play for 90 days. This is for just 30 days. You're paying $23 a month. That's after 2 months. That's a brand new game. 2 3 months. That's a brand new game you're spending on that.
And again, I mean, this is blatantly, obviously a horrible move on whoever's part. The only thing that I have to say on it is that either Bethesda needs to work out the contract with Microsoft as Square Enix did for Final Fantasy, because for Xbox Live to allow people to play Final Fantasy 11 online through the system means either Square Enix had to have made a deal with them, or Microsoft had to have known Final Fantasy 11 was going to come to the system or had the possibility and would have paid them to do so and allowed them that. So for this to be currently set as it is means that either Microsoft hasn't reached out, in which case Microsoft needs to realize the Elder Scrolls Online is going to be a big deal and they need to support it as much as they can to get the revenue. Or Bethesda needs to realize that if they don't fix this, they're only going to be selling to two system owners because most of the Xbox One owners are going to realize, well, And then they are Xbox owners, but still, they're going to realize that they're getting double charged and they're going to steer away from the game.
Well, you see, the another thing that comes to mind is whether this game is cross-platform or not, like a normally an MMO is, because normally for an MMO, they're not the reason why Square Enix didn't have to pay isn't pay it, you didn't have to pay Xbox Live with Square Enix is because you were using Square Enix's servers, you were connecting to their servers, and like as for like games like on PlayStation 4, Wii U, and Xbox One, most of the online games that are not MMOs, you're technically connecting to the servers of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. So it's whether they choose as to that they're paying or not. Like Xbox One, people are paying for the Xbox Live because you're using Microsoft servers to play the games offered on the Xbox One. You can't play, you can't play Battlefield 4 on the Xbox One with people who are playing Battlefield 4 on the PlayStation 4, you know? So that just brings to mind, if Xbox Live is charging you for Elder Scrolls Online, does that mean that Elder Scrolls Online is not cross-platform? That it's all dependent on the platform you're playing on is who you're going to be playing with. So if you're playing on the PC, you're going to be playing with only PC players. If you're playing on PlayStation 4, are you only playing with PlayStation 4 players, and Xbox One, etc. So that's the only way I see that Xbox Live should be charging you. Other than that, that's just like a ripoff. If I'm connecting to another company's servers, why am I paying? It's like paying a toll oh, you want to connect to the internet? Like they might as well do that. I think, well, actually, I think they do that. You got to pay for Xbox Live to use the internet on the Xbox One.
And on a humorous note, I will add, you're saying that if Bethesda is running their own servers and you're having to pay Microsoft just to connect to those servers, that's stupid. I, again, on a humorous note, actually a dark humorous note, so you're aware that the Kinect takes pictures and or whatever else whenever people get like a high score or something.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have to have Xbox Live simply so that while you're playing the game, you're paying them for Bethesda for the use of their servers and everything, but you're paying Microsoft the fee so that your Kinect can take pictures of you and upload it to Microsoft. Just
I
think
just
that through.
I just think Microsoft's doing a horrible job right now. Like every day I hear something else that like I've even heard that Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be on 10 is going on native 1080p on the PlayStation 4, and on the Xbox One it can only reach 720p.
Wow. W- Wow. Okay. I was not aware of this. That's really sad.
Yeah, if you also Dead Rising 3 looks horrible. Everyone was so excited about that on the Xbox One, and it just looks bad compared to what they showed off in E3.
Man. And then if Watch Dogs comes out for it, we've already seen what they did to Watch Dogs.
Yeah, we have. But we will actually talk about that next time because we are out of time. We're at 32 minutes.
All right, sounds good. Well, everybody, it was nice talking to you again. And this time I will say it. If you have any feedback or anything, if you want to tell us we did a great job, if you liked our episode, if you didn't like it, so on and so forth, you can catch us at Twitter at twitter.com/talkingames, or you can email us at talkin_games@yahoo.com. Did I say that correctly, Tosh?
Yep.
All right, and I hope everybody enjoyed this episode about Elder Scrolls and a few other random things that we happened to touch on. Do you have any last notes to touch on, Dennis?
No, I don't. So I will just say, have a great weekend, everyone. If you're listening during the week, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, as an added note, it's spring break here. I don't know if everyone else has that going on or not. So if you're out of class or whatever, happy spring break as well. Enjoy the relaxation.
Yeah, don't drown in a pool.
Oh no, don't drown in. We only have so many viewers, and if you're listening, you're one of them. We can't have you drowning. That's an order. Don't drown. Don't
Yes,
don't
please.
don't
Yeah.
drown.
Yeah, don't. All right. Well, that's it. Everyone, have a great week, Matt.
Peace.